Welcome to today's video. Today I am doing a updated 2024 presidential election prediction just based off of the current polling averages using the realclearpolitics.com as my data. It is absolutely crazy that today is October 1st, only over a month until the presidential election. Time's absolutely flying by. So, first of the month, time to do an updated prediction. And in this one, if you've seen my prior ones, I'm going to do it a little different this time. This time, instead of starting off with the safe states and just going through the toss-ups, I'm going to go through every state, show you where the Real Clear Politics average has that state, and just go over it a bit. So even if it's a safe state, I'm still going to go through it as a more in-depth way of looking at it right before the election. We're going to start with the state of Washington, when it's 12 electoral votes, that when you look at the Real Clear Politics site, there actually haven't been any polls conducted in the state of Washington. Quick refresh, and there's nothing here. So we're going to go off of some of the past results from 2020 and 2016. In 2016, Clinton won the state by 15 points. In 2020, Biden won it by 19. So we can safely assume the state will be over 10 points for Kamala and Tim Walz. That will be 12 electoral votes added to her column. Don't worry, that won't be the case for all the states, though, because now we're going to go to the state of Oregon, and it's 8 electoral votes. Oregon, there's been one poll conducted that showed it to be a 5-point race, but it was by a Republican pollster, so we can pretty much assume that there's basically no polls in the state of Oregon. But when you look at 2020, 16-point win for Biden in Oregon, 2016, 11 points, probably going to be somewhere close to that margin, which would be over 10. We can officially say Oregon is safe for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Now we're going to go south to the state of California. California, 54 electoral votes, very, very large, the largest total of election night. We do have some polls in this one. 24.5% lead for Harris over Trump in the state of California. Absolutely a safe state for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. No surprise there. And before I go throughout the rest of the country, I'm just going to go to the states of Alaska and Hawaii since they're right here. We'll start with the state of Alaska, and it's 3 electoral votes. Alaska, right now there's not actually been any national polling conducted in the state of Alaska. So again, we're going to have to go off of what we have from the past election results. 2020 was a 10-point win for Trump over Biden. 2016, it was a 14-point win. So just by narrow margins, I'm going to put it plus 10. I'm going to keep Alaska in the safe Trump column. But if that was a 1 point or so under 10, that wouldn't exactly shock me on election day. Now to the state of Hawaii, where its 4 electoral votes are. We're going to go to Hawaii real quick and just look at the polls. There are also not any. So we have to go to 2020, where Hawaii had 29-point win for Biden over Trump. 2016 was 32 points. Absolutely a safe Democratic state, once again, for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. 78 for Harris and Walz, 3 for Trump and Vance. We're going to skip the state of Nevada and come back to it as it is a toss-up state. Same thing with Arizona. So first we're going to go to the state of Utah, where Utah in its 6 electoral votes going to be a safe Trump state. Not any polling data in this one. As you can see, there's not really a lot of polling data in most of the safe states, but still. 20 points in 2020, 18 points in 2016. Utah is going to be a safe Donald Trump state. Now to the state of Wyoming. Wyoming, let's see, do we have a trend here? Do we actually have some votes? And we do not. Back to 2020 and 2016, 46 for Trump in 16, 43 for Trump in 2020. No surprise, Wyoming, a safe Donald Trump and J.D. Vance state. Now the state of Idaho and its 4 electoral votes. Can we finally have a safe state with some polls? Let's see, do we have any? And we do not. Not a very interesting video so far. But, you know, they're safe states for a reason. They don't get a lot of polls too much. Some of them do, some of them don't. Idaho, 30 points in 2020. 2016, 31. What can you do? Another safe state with not a lot of polling. I think Montana definitely has some, though. And if you have been watching so far, well, first of all, thank you. Because, I mean, I know the lack of polling in these states, especially if you live in any of these states, is certainly very disappointing, especially. But still, what can you do? The state of Montana, 4 electoral votes. Right now, you click on the state, and we're going to see here, Montana has a 17.6% lead for Trump in the state of Montana. I would say I know there are some polls out of Montana because there have been a lot of Senate polls, and I know they've asked about the presidential race. So 17 points, enough to put Montana into the safe Donald Trump, J.D. Vance column. We'll right now just go next to the state of Colorado, and it's 10 electoral votes in Colorado. Colorado, 10 electoral votes. Only one poll by a Democratic-rated pollster, but it has Kamala Harris plus 11. So just briefly, we're going to look plus 13 in 2020, 2016, 4.9, but the state has moved blue a lot to the last 8 years. I think we can pretty confidently say this state is going to be a safe Kamala Harris state. Now we'll go to the state of New Mexico, and it's 5 electoral votes. New Mexico, I know for sure, has some polling data done. Let's see here. New Mexico, 10.5% in the polling average, only 2 polls done, but just enough to put it over the 10-point column. That would put New Mexico into the safe Kamala Harris and Tim Walz category. Okay, so now we did Colorado, New Mexico. Again, we're going to leave the swing states to the end. So let's start up north with North Dakota and South Dakota. Very interesting to see if they have any polls. I don't believe they do, but let's find out. No polls out of North Dakota. And while we're here, let's just check. South Dakota, no polls out of there as well, so we'll do them both at the same time. North Dakota, let's see, 33.4, 26.2 in 2020, 35.7, 29.8, no surprises. North and South Dakota both will go for Trump and Vance. Now to the state of Nebraska, where I know there are absolutely some polls done there because of the 2nd Congressional District. And let's see, I'm going to try and find the polling on that. Okay, so none for the state of Nebraska, but I do know for a fact the 2nd Congressional District does have some polls, and I'll pull that up in just one second. Nebraska will be safe for Trump at large because just looking at the totals from last time, 53 points for Trump in 2020. Not even going to waste my time with 2016. We know how the state's going to go. 2nd District, 14 points. That'll be safe. The 2nd District, in 2020 was 6 points for Biden. And let's just really quickly try and find the poll, which, let's see, I believe Real Clear Politics has that up here. Yes, they do. Let that load up. Here we go. The 2nd Congressional District, it is actually a 10-point lead right now for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump in that district. Suburban district that's been moving more to the Democratic column over the last 8 years. Fully expect the 2nd Congressional District will be safe at the end of the day for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Now to the state of Kansas, a state that is actually getting surprisingly closer than you might think for a state like Kansas in the middle of the country. No polls have been done in the 2024 election on the Real Clear Politics average, but 2020, the race was only 14.6%. Back in 2016, it was 20.6%, so a significant swing, actually, to the Democratic side. It'll be interesting to see if that continues. I expect Trump to still win it over 10 percentage points, but Kansas could potentially be a sneaky one to keep an eye out for. Now we're going to go to the state of Oklahoma. I'm not going to lie, I'd be totally shocked if Oklahoma has any polls done. I am shocked. They do have one poll from Sooner Poll. Trump plus 16. Good enough for me. 7 electoral votes go to Donald Trump. 94 for Harris and Walz. 43 for Trump and Vance. Something tells me that's going to change with the state of Texas, and it's 40 electoral votes. Texas, let's take a look at here. 40 electoral votes. Trump is only leading in the average actually by 5.2%, so definitely a lot closer than I initially thought. But let's take a look back at 2020, 5.6%, and 2016, 9%, both times under 10 points. So actually, we are going to put Texas just barely in the likely Republican column, but definitely not safe according to this, which is very, very interesting. Now we're going to go to the state of Louisiana. We're going to work our way up this time. Louisiana, and it's 8 electoral votes. Let's see if there's any polls here. I don't recall seeing any. Yeah, I didn't think so. There aren't any polls in Louisiana. It was 18 points in 2020, 19 points in 2016. Fully expect Louisiana to be safe once again. Now we're going to go to the state of Arkansas, and it's 6 electoral votes. Let's see if there's any polls here. There's one poll that has Trump up 15 points. So that would be enough to put Arkansas into the safe Donald Trump column. Trump is now at 97. Harris and Walz are at 94. Now I'll go to the state of Missouri with its 10 electoral votes. Missouri has Trump at 53, Harris at 43 from the Hill Emerson. So more of a well-known pollster. Certainly going to believe that. Missouri goes to the solid, safe Donald Trump, J.D. Vance column, 107 to 94. Next, we'll move to the state of Iowa, a state that used to be a swing state for a long time, and we expect it's gone heavily to the Trump direction. Only one poll done by the Des Moines Register showing it as a 4-point race. So only 4-point race according to this one. But when you look at the election results from 2020, where it was 8.2, in 2016, where it was 9.4, I'm actually going to override this one. I'm not going to make it a safe state, but I am going to make it a likely state because there's no way it's only going to be a 4-point win for Trump. That does not seem to fit with the trends of the election. Now to the state of Minnesota, where on the Real Clear Politics map, it actually shows it as a toss-up, but I've looked at the data beforehand, so it's actually not exactly a toss-up. It's 4.7% lead for Harris over Trump right now. The home state of running mate Tim Walz, for Kamala Harris. And when you look back at the election results in 2020, it was a 7-point win for Biden, and in 2016 it was a lot closer, 1.5 win for Clinton. That's going to be enough for me to put Minnesota into the lean Democratic column, but not yet am I going to put it into the toss-up column. Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania certainly will be, though, so we're going to leave those alone for now. Now we're going to go to the state of Illinois with its 19 electoral votes. Very, very big state in population, of course, home to Chicago. No polls have been conducted, but in 2020, 17 points for Biden. 2016, 17 points for Clinton. Let's see if it has 17 points again this election cycle. See if the trend continues. That 19 electoral votes go to Harris and Walz. And just like that, Harris and Walz have taken the lead over Trump once again. Now we'll go to the state of Indiana with its 11 electoral votes. Indiana, the Hoosier state, expected to be a safe state for Trump, plus 17 in the poll by the Hill Emerson back in the middle of September. That would put Indiana in the safe Donald Trump, J.D. Vance column. The state of Kentucky and its 8 electoral votes. Let's see if Kentucky has any polls conducted in this average. There are not any. Let's check for 2016. It was a 30-point win for Trump. 2020, 26-point win for Trump. Certainly going to be a safe Donald Trump state. Now we're going to go to the state of Tennessee with its 11 electoral votes. Let's do a real quick look at Tennessee, a state that I know Nashville is very popular. A lot of people moving to the state. See if any polls have been conducted here. There have not been, actually, surprisingly. I thought there would be. Tennessee was 23 points for Trump in 2020. 2016, 26 points. Certainly going to be a safe Donald Trump state. Now we'll go to the state of Mississippi. Mississippi and its 6 electoral votes. Okay, why did Mississippi redirect to Alabama? Oh, okay, that's strange. Mississippi, for some reason, goes to Alabama. Okay, that's weird. If I click over here. Nope, all right. Huh. Oh, that's new. All right, so I guess we'll just do Mississippi and Alabama together. 16 points for Trump and Mississippi in 2020, 25 for Alabama, 16, 17.8, and 27. Both states we know will be safe Donald Trump states, but still a little interesting that the site redirected them to the same Alabama page. That's interesting. Georgia we're going to leave because that's also a very important toss-up state that I want to go over at the end. The state of Florida, however, has moved a little bit to the right in the last few years, quite a bit, where Trump is now leading here by 6 points in the average, 6 points. This would be the biggest margin Trump has won the state by if it does end up being 6 points. So that is over 5. That will be enough to put Florida into the likely Donald Trump, J.D. Vance column. Georgia, as I mentioned, we are going to pass over just for now, and we're going to look at the state of South Carolina. South Carolina, there's been no polls conducted, but back in 2020, it was an 11-point win for Trump, and in 2016, it was a 14-point win. So it did move to the left a little bit in 2020. However, I still fully expect Trump to win this state by over 10 points in a safe margin. North Carolina, we're going to come back to. I believe that's a very important toss-up state. Virginia, for now, until I see something different, I'm going to say it's still a state that's not exactly a toss-up state. It's like just on the edge of being a toss-up and not being a toss-up. Right now, the polls have it at 4.8%, which is the closest I think we've seen it in a very long time. I think it's kind of in the same realm of Minnesota, where it's not out of reach for Trump and the Republicans, but I would be very surprised if Trump was able to win it. I think if Trump has like an absolutely amazing night where he's like, we know by 10 p.m. we know Trump is going to win the election, then I think there's a chance that a state like Virginia would be in play. I'm not expecting it. I'm not banking on it, but it's still, I guess, it is possible. 4.8% lead for Harris. That would put Virginia into the lean Kamala Harris and Tim Walz column. Right next door to the state of West Virginia, I mean, if Mississippi didn't have any polls, I don't see how West Virginia is going to have any. Yeah, I didn't think so. No polls, but we know this is a very Republican state, 38.9 points in 2020. Not even going to waste my time looking at 2016. We know West Virginia is going to be a safe Donald Trump state. The state of Ohio and its 17 electoral votes. Back in the day, one of the premier swing states and bellwethers in every single presidential election. Now, in the polling average, Trump has an 8.2% lead over Kamala Harris in the state. 8.2%. That is enough to put Ohio not over 10 into the likely Trump column, just not being enough to be over 10, but absolutely going to be a Trump state on election day. 218 for Trump, 136 for Harris and Walz. Now we're going to go up to the East Coast. We're going to start with the state of Maryland. Actually, no, let's just get this out of the way. Let's do D.C. I'd be shocked if there's a poll out of D.C. because we know exactly how the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. is going to vote. Yeah, there is not. Let's see. 86.8% for Biden over Trump in 2020. And Clinton won at 86.8%. I think you can take a pretty good guess. We know how this one's going to go. D.C., 3 electoral votes, goes for Harris and Walz. Now the state of Maryland, where I think we actually do have some polling data for the state. Let's see, and it's 10 electoral votes. Yes, right now Harris is leading Trump the average by about 29.4%. Very interesting because the Senate race is very close, but very interesting. 29.4%. Absolutely going to be a safe Kamala Harris and Tim Walz state. Now we're going to go to the state of Delaware, the home state of President Joe Biden. Let's see. Delaware, does it have any polling data? It has one poll from the University of Delaware from the middle of September, where it's a 20-point lead for Harris over Trump. That would put Delaware into the safe Kamala Harris, Tim Walz column. The state of New Jersey and its 14 electoral votes. Let's see, in the state of New Jersey, I know one time the Trump campaign was hoping to win it. No polls have been conducted in the survey, but 2020 New Jersey was 15 points over for Biden. 2016, 14 points. I think we can pretty confidently say New Jersey will be a safe Democratic state come Election Day. Now to the state of New York, the birth state and original home state of Donald Trump, a state that Trump has said many times he would love to win. And of course, he says he thinks he's going to win. We'll see. Obviously, wait and see on Election Day. 2 polls have been conducted. The average is 13.5%, which actually, even though we know this is going to be a safe state, I just want to show you, this is very interesting. Biden won it in 2020 by 23 points and won it in 2016 by Clinton by 22. If the polling data is correct, and again, just to show you, it'd be a 13-point win for Harris. What's that, a 10-point swing in 4 years? That's a very big swing in Trump's direction, the Republicans' direction. I think Harris is certainly still going to win this state and going to win New York by a safe margin. But that drastic of a swing, 10 points in only 4 years, that's definitely a very significant development that Democrats in New York have to be paying attention to. Very, very interesting. Next, we'll go to the state of Connecticut. Connecticut, let's see, and it's 7 electoral votes. Is there any polls? There is not. 2020, Connecticut had Biden plus 20. 2016 had Clinton plus 13.6. Connecticut, and its 7 electoral votes, will be a safe state for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Let's go real quick to the state of Rhode Island and its 4 electoral votes. And Rhode Island has one poll conducted by the University of New Hampshire, 58 for Harris, 38 for Trump, plus 20 for Kamala Harris. No surprises, Rhode Island will be a safe Democratic state. The state of Massachusetts, let's see, I don't know if there's any polls, but I think last time around it was the biggest win for any Democrat in a state, not counting D.C., in a state. 31 points for Harris from the same UNH poll that did Rhode Island. 31 points for Harris. Massachusetts certainly going to be a very safe state for Harris and Walz. The state of Vermont and its 3 electoral votes. Let's see if there's any polls conducted here. Would not be shocked if there aren't any. Oh, there is one from UNH. Oh, good. 41 points for Harris over Trump, 70-29. Vermont goes into the safe Harris and Walz column, 219-218. Now we have the state of New Hampshire, formerly a swing state. Now I think it's more considered, kind of like Virginia and Minnesota, a more Democratic-leaning state. Could go for a Republican on a good night, but would not expect it. 7.7% right now lead for Harris over Trump. That would be enough to put New Hampshire into a likely win for Harris and Walz. Not a lean state, not a toss-up state, more like a pretty likely Harris and Walz state. And finally, the state of Maine, where like Nebraska, this is split up by congressional district. We'll do the state of Maine first, then we'll do the districts after that. The state of Maine itself, let's see, plus 9, plus 17, plus 9. I think if you average that out, that would just be enough to get over 10. So we're going to say the state of Maine itself will be a safe state. Let's see if they have any polls for the 1st Congressional District. I believe that they do. Or I know I recall seeing some in the past. Yes. 27-point win for Harris. Absolutely going to be a safe district. Very, very interesting now, though. Let's take a look at the 2nd Congressional District, where I know a poll just came out. Yeah. UNH had a +5 for Harris back in August. Pan Atlantic has Trump +7 back in the early to mid-September. A 1-point lead right now for Trump. I think the margin on election day will be a lot bigger. But I do think certainly Trump is going to win this district. Still, 1 point can only put it in the tilt Trump column. Definitely, I think, going to be a much bigger win for Trump on election day. So that's right now. Those are all the safe, likely, and lean states where it's 226 for Harris and Walz, 219 for Trump and Vance. The remaining 7 states are the states we've been talking about for a while now as the main toss-up states, the main battleground states for this election. And this is why this election is so close, is just these handful of states are going to determine who wins, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. And they're all very, very close, as I'm about to show you right now. Again, I'll start out west and move east just to do the same process, starting with the state of Nevada. Nevada and its 6 electoral votes. Very, very close. Definitely under the margin of error. Right now, Kamala Harris is a lead of 1.3 points, 48.6% to Trump's 47.3%. Very, very close. We're going to put Nevada right now at 1.3%, just over 1%. We're going to put it in the lean Harris column, just being over 1 point to make it tilt. 232 to 219. Now we're going to go to the state of Arizona, and it's 11 electoral votes right next to Nevada. Trump holds a 2-point lead here in the average, 49.3 to 47.3. A few polls come out in the last few days to give Trump a bit of a boost, where his numbers are starting to go up, as are Harris's, but Trump's are going up a little bit more. 2-point lead in the state of Arizona. This would put Arizona into the lean Donald Trump column. Now we're going to go to the state of Georgia, and it's 16 electoral votes, where real quick looking at Georgia, very, very important state, a state that Trump won in 16, Biden won in 2020. Trump is leading here by 1.4% in the latest average after the new polls have been added. A very close race, very, very tight, certainly going to probably remain tight leading up to Election Day. At 1.4, that is enough to put Georgia in the lean Donald Trump column. 246 for Donald Trump, 232 for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Now to the state of North Carolina, where I was checking around the polls a little bit earlier. I know this one is insanely close. 0.7% lead right now for Donald Trump, 48.6%, 47.9%. Very, very interesting, very, very close. I will note it's 48.6, 47.9. There seems to be a little bit more of either undecided vote or third-party vote in North Carolina than the other states we've looked at so far, like in Nevada and Arizona. So it'll be interesting to see if the undecided vote breaks for Trump or breaks for Harris on Election Day. That will be a big sign to tell who will be favored to win this state. Nonetheless, still, Trump is leading by 0.7, which is under 1% of the vote. That means we have to put North Carolina into the tilt Donald Trump column at this time. Trump is at 262, Harris and Walz 232. Trump on the cusp of winning the election, but we have to do the remaining states first, starting with the state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin, very close state, voted for Trump in 2016, Biden in 2020, both by very close margins. And now we actually see Harris leading here, 49.1% to Trump's 48.3%, a 0.8% lead. This is actually getting very, very close because Harris for the last few weeks has had about over a point lead, even getting close to a 2-point lead at times. And now she's starting to slowly lose a little bit of support, where it got down to about 0.7, 0.8 where it is now. It looks like Trump's numbers are starting to go up a bit. Hers are slightly going up as well. Wisconsin is incredibly close. According to the polls, 0.8%. That would put Wisconsin into the tilt Democratic column, the tilt Harris and Walz column, but certainly a very, very close one to watch for, well under the margin of error, like North Carolina. The state of Michigan and its 15 electoral votes, 1.4% lead for Harris over Trump right now, but this is one definitely to keep an eye out for, because this is starting to get very, very close, where Harris had a lead of 2 points, over 2 points for a decent bit, got down to about 1 point, then it went back up to 1.7, now it's down to 1.4 again. It seems to be going up and down in swings a little bit, and it's definitely one getting very, very close, and there is some potential room here for Trump to make up some ground. 48.9, 47.5, definitely some undecided vote left. definitely interesting to watch in the state of Michigan. Still at 1.4%, that is over the 1% threshold. That would put Michigan into the lean Kamala Harris and Tim Walz column. 257 for Harris and Walz, 262 for Trump and Vance. And like I've been saying for a while, this election is going to come down to the state of Pennsylvania, the Keystone State. It's called that for a reason. 19 electoral votes. I believe Pennsylvania will pick who the next president of the United States is. And we're going to have to look at the polls now. And with breaking news in the last day or so, Trump now leads Harris in the state of Pennsylvania in the Real Clear Politics average by 0.2%. Could it get any closer than this? 48.1 for Trump, 47.9 for Harris. Certainly a lot of undecided vote and third-party vote out there that we're going to have to wait and see on Election Day how that translates. Definitely enough room for both candidates to make up the ground and win. But as you can see, when Harris first entered the race, Trump had about a 4-point lead. As Harris got more well-known, the lead narrowed. Trump had a little bit of a lead, then it became tied. Harris jumped ahead for a little bit, then it was tied again. Then it was tied even some more. Harris took a little bit of a lead, then it was tied. Harris jumped up to a bigger lead, and then it became tied again. And now Trump is up by 0.2. Pennsylvania has gone back and forth this entire election. It is an incredibly close state, an incredibly important state. And on today's election, just by the thinnest of margins, Trump is leading in this polling average, which means Trump would get 281 electoral votes. Harris and Walz get 257. This has Donald Trump breaking the 270 electoral vote threshold and making Donald Trump the 47th president of the United States. I mean, it's very, very interesting. And what's interesting about this map is it's not really too unrealistic from what I think we can actually see the election going as. Because all the battleground states that are 2 or 3 points or under, they're all within the polls that are being factored into the averages. They're all under the margin of error. So if they swing 3 points in one direction or the other direction, it really wouldn't be too much of a shock. So all the swing states are very close. We have a very tight election. It seems in the last few days or so that there have been more positive polls for Trump, and that Harris's lead in a lot of places like Michigan, like Wisconsin, and like in Pennsylvania where she was leading, is actually going down a bit. So it appears the election has slightly moved in Trump's direction in the last week or so. But again, we have over a month until the election, so we're going to have to wait and see how things go. But right now, Trump has 281, Harris and Walz have 257. That will do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to give it a like. And if you really liked it, please remember to click the subscribe button. And make sure you turn post notifications on so you always get notified when I post a new video. That way you never miss one. Also, please remember to share this video with your friends and family if you really, really, really like the video. And remember to stay tuned because I'll be posting at least one video every single day leading up until Election Day. So I'd really appreciate it if you keep coming back and watching those videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.